October 12, 2017. Raqqa, Syria. 0530 hours. The city is dying. Once home to 300,000 people, Raqqa has become the capital of terror. For 3 years, ISIS has ruled these streets with brutality and darkness. Now, Kurdish and Arab forces are fighting to liberate it, building by building, street by street. On a rooftop in the old city district, a lone figure watches the sunrise through a high-powered scope. American Special Forces sniper. No name. No identification. Officially, he's not even here. His mission was simple: provide overwatch for advancing ground forces, eliminate high-value targets, and extract after 48 hours. That was 5 days ago. The extraction helicopter never came. ISIS counterattacks cut him off from friendly lines. Radio communications were lost when shrapnel destroyed his equipment. Now he's alone on a rooftop in the heart of ISIS-controlled Raqqa, surrounded by 400 enemy fighters who know he's here and want him dead. He has 127 rounds of ammunition, 5 days' worth of water in a single canteen. No food, no backup, no way out except through 400 enemies who have turned this entire neighborhood into a hunting ground. This is the story of the ghost of Raqqa. 5 days on a rooftop, one sniper against an army, and a battle that proved the deadliest weapon in war is not a gun. It's the will to survive. The building was a 4-story apartment complex, partially destroyed by airstrikes. The sniper had chosen it carefully. Good fields of fire, multiple escape routes, and concealment from aerial observation. It was supposed to be a 48-hour hide site. Now, it was his fortress and his prison. Day 1 had been routine. He'd arrived just before dawn, establishing his position on the roof. His spotter was with him then, a Kurdish fighter who knew the city. They'd spent the day observing enemy movements, calling in airstrikes, and eliminating key ISIS commanders. By evening, they'd confirmed 7 kills and disrupted 3 ISIS counterattacks. Then everything went wrong. An ISIS mortar barrage hit their position at 1900 hours. The spotter was killed instantly. The sniper took shrapnel in his left shoulder and lost consciousness. When he woke up an hour later, ISIS fighters were sweeping the building below, searching for him. His radio was destroyed. His extraction window had passed. He was alone. He did what snipers are trained to do. He adapted. He moved to a new position on the roof, using rubble to create a hide. He treated his own wound with the limited medical supplies in his pack, and he waited for dawn to assess the situation. What he saw at first light on day 2 was worse than he'd imagined. ISIS had flooded the neighborhood with fighters, checkpoints on every corner, patrols on every street. They knew an American sniper was in the area, and they were determined to find him. The sniper counted roughly 400 ISIS fighters within a 500-meter radius. They were organized, well-armed, and methodical. They were searching buildings systematically, working their way toward his position. He had 2 options: try to break out immediately and almost certainly die, or stay hidden and hope for rescue. He chose a 3rd option. He would make ISIS pay for every hour they kept him trapped. At 0745 hours on day 2, he took his first shot. An ISIS commander was organizing search teams in the street below. Range, 340 meters. Wind, 5 miles per hour from the east. The bullet hit center mass. The commander dropped. The other fighters scattered, trying to identify where the shot came from. The sniper had already moved to a new firing position on the opposite side of the roof. He waited. Patient. Invisible. 15 minutes later, another ISIS fighter appeared, trying to recover the commander's body. The sniper put a round through his chest. The man fell next to his commander. For the next hour, ISIS fighters tried to reach those bodies. Every time someone got close, the sniper fired. By noon, 5 ISIS fighters lay dead in that street, and no one else dared approach. The message was clear. There was a sniper watching, waiting, and he was very, very good at his job. ISIS adapted. They stopped moving in the open, started using buildings for cover. sent out probing patrols to try to locate the sniper's position. But every time they got close to his building, the sniper would engage from an unexpected angle. He was using the entire rooftop, moving constantly, never firing from the same position twice. By the end of day 2, the sniper had confirmed 12 kills. But he'd also used 45 rounds, a third of his ammunition. And ISIS was getting smarter, more careful. They were learning. Would you volunteer for a mission with 5% survival rate? Comment yes or no. Day 3 brought a new challenge: thirst. The sniper's canteen was half empty. The temperature was climbing to 95 degrees. He was losing water through sweat, and the wound in his shoulder was infected. He needed to find water, or he would die up here, even if ISIS didn't kill him. At 0300 hours, under cover of darkness, he descended into the building, moving silently through destroyed apartments, searching for anything useful. In a collapsed kitchen, he found 3 bottles of water, miraculously intact. He also found canned food, probably left by refugees who'd fled months ago. It wasn't much, but it bought him time. As he returned to the roof, he heard voices below. ISIS fighters had entered the building. They were searching the lower floors, moving slowly, carefully. The sniper had minutes before they reached his position. He couldn't fight them in close quarters. There were too many. He needed them to leave. So he did something unexpected. He went to the opposite side of the building and fired 3 shots into a building 200 meters away. The shots echoed through the city. The ISIS fighters in his building heard the shots and assumed the sniper was in the building he'd just shot. They left to join the search there. The misdirection worked, for now, but ISIS was adapting. Their commander realized the sniper was playing games with them, so he changed tactics. Instead of searching blindly, he would force the sniper to reveal himself. On the morning of day 4, ISIS brought in civilians. They lined up 20 people in the street below the sniper's position. Men, women, children, hostages. And then they made an announcement through a loudspeaker in broken English. American sniper, we know you are watching. These people die unless you surrender. You have 1 hour. The sniper watched through his scope. He could see the fear in the civilians' faces, could see the ISIS fighters with AK-47s pointed at their heads. He had 1 hour to make an impossible choice: surrender and certainly die, or let innocent people be executed. This was psychological warfare at its cruelest. ISIS knew American soldiers valued civilian lives. They were weaponizing that compassion. The sniper did not surrender. Instead, he started shooting, not at the civilians, not even at the guards immediately threatening them. He targeted the ISIS commander who had ordered this atrocity. The man was standing 50 meters back from the civilians, thinking he was safe. The bullet traveled 380 meters and struck him in the head. He dropped instantly. Chaos. The ISIS fighters near the civilians turned to look at their fallen commander. In that moment of confusion, the sniper fired again. And again. Targeting the fighters closest to the hostages. Precise. Controlled. Deadly. Within 30 seconds, he'd killed 6 ISIS fighters. The others scattered, abandoning the civilians who ran for cover in nearby buildings. The execution had failed, but the sniper had revealed his general position. ISIS now knew which building he was in, and they were coming. At 1400 hours, ISIS launched their first direct assault on his building. 20 fighters stormed the entrance, clearing rooms on the ground floor. The sniper couldn't shoot them all. They were inside, below him, using the building structure for cover. He improvised. Using the grenades from his kit, he created a trap at the stairwell leading to the roof. When the ISIS fighters reached the 3rd floor and started up the final staircase, he detonated the grenades remotely. The explosion killed 4 fighters and collapsed part of the stairway, blocking the route. But it was only a temporary solution. ISIS would bring more men, more explosives. They would blow through the blocked stairway or find another way up. He had maybe 6 hours before they reached him. As night fell on day 4, the sniper assessed his situation. 67 rounds remaining. Moderate dehydration despite finding water. infected shoulder wound, causing fever. ISIS now knows his exact building. No friendly forces within kilometers. No way to call for help. Estimated 18 to 24 hours until ISIS breaches his position. He had fought well, but the math was simple. He couldn't hold out forever. Eventually, ammunition or exhaustion or infection would kill him, or ISIS would simply overwhelm his position with numbers. He decided that if he was going to die here, he would make it count. He would take as many ISIS fighters with him as possible, and he would document everything. His helmet camera had been recording since day one. If his body was ever recovered, at least the story would be told. Day 5 began with an unexpected development. At 0600 hours, the sniper heard a massive explosion to the east, then another, then sustained gunfire. He looked through his scope and saw something beautiful. Friendly forces. Kurdish SDF fighters had launched a major offensive, pushing into the old city from 2 directions. The battle for his neighborhood had begun, and suddenly he wasn't alone anymore, but he was still trapped, still surrounded, and ISIS was more determined than ever to kill him before they lost the area. At 0800 hours, ISIS brought in a technical, a pickup truck mounted with a heavy machine gun. They positioned it in the street and started shooting at his rooftop, trying to suppress him while assault teams moved into his building. The sniper had a choice: hide and let ISIS overrun his position, or fight and risk being hit by the heavy machine gun. He chose to fight. He aimed at the technical's gunner. Range, 290 meters. The truck was moving slowly. The gunner was protected by a metal shield, but there was a gap on the left side. The sniper waited for the perfect angle. Fire! The bullet passed through the gap and hit the gunner in the chest. He slumped forward. The technical stopped. Another ISIS fighter tried to man the gun. The sniper shot him too. Then a third fighter. And a fourth. ISIS finally abandoned the technical, leaving 4 bodies draped over the weapon. But the assault on his building continued. ISIS fighters had reached the 2nd floor, fighting their way up through the damaged stairways. The sniper could hear them below. Arabic voices, footsteps, the sound of debris being cleared. He set up his final defensive position. Every grenade he had left was rigged as a trap at key positions. His rifle was loaded and ready. His sidearm had a full magazine. When they reached the roof, he would fight until he had no ammunition left. And then he would fight with his knife. At 10:30 hours, the first ISIS fighter appeared at the roof access. The sniper shot him, then another, and another. They kept coming, using the bodies of their dead as cover, trying to overwhelm him with numbers. He was down to 23 rounds, then 15, then 8. This was it, the final stand, the end of the line. And then he heard the most beautiful sound in the world, the roar of diesel engines and the distinctive crack of .50 caliber machine guns. Kurdish armored vehicles had broken through to his block. They were engaging ISIS fighters in the street below. The assault on his position broke off. The ISIS fighters trapped in his building tried to escape through windows and side doors. The Kurdish fighters cut them down. Within 10 minutes, the immediate threat was over. A Kurdish commander reached the rooftop, followed by his soldiers. They found the American sniper behind a pile of rubble, rifle empty, sidearm drawn, barely conscious from fever and blood loss, but still ready to fight. "Friendly," the sniper managed to say. "Yes, friendly. You're safe now. We've got you." The sniper was evacuated to a field hospital, then to a military base, then to Germany for treatment. He spent 2 weeks in intensive care fighting the infection from his shoulder wound, but he survived. When he was debriefed, intelligence officers couldn't believe what they were hearing. 5 days alone, surrounded by 400 ISIS fighters, no food, limited water, wounded, and he'd survived. "How many did you take out?" they asked. "I stopped counting after 30, maybe 35, maybe more." They checked his helmet camera footage. The number was 37 confirmed kills. 37 ISIS fighters eliminated by one sniper over 5 days, including 2 high-value commanders, multiple team leaders, and the man who'd ordered civilian executions. This is what true heroism looks like. Hit like if you agree. The impact of those 5 days extended far beyond the body count. The sniper had disrupted ISIS operations across an entire neighborhood. Patrols that were supposed to reinforce other positions were diverted to hunt him. Commanders who should have been coordinating defenses were killed by his rifle. Supply routes were blocked because ISIS fighters were too afraid to move through his sector. One Kurdish commander later said, "That sniper tied down 400 ISIS fighters for 5 days. They were so obsessed with killing him, they neglected other defensive positions. When we launched our offensive, we broke through faster than expected, because ISIS had committed so many resources to hunting one man. He didn't just survive, he changed the entire tactical situation." ISIS fighters who were captured during the battle told interrogators about the Ghost. They said he was everywhere and nowhere, that he could shoot through walls, that bullets didn't kill him. The myth grew with each retelling, and it terrified ISIS fighters who had to operate in that sector. One captured ISIS fighter said, "We sent 50 men to find him. He killed 12 of them. We sent a technical to suppress his position. He destroyed it. We tried to execute civilians to force him out. He killed our commander instead. We thought we were hunting him, but he was hunting us. We feared him more than the airstrikes." The psychological impact of a single skilled sniper cannot be overstated. ISIS had to commit massive resources to deal with one man, resources that could have been used to defend against the main assault. The sniper became a force multiplier far beyond his actual combat power. Military analysts later studied the engagement as a textbook example of sniper operations in urban warfare. The lessons learned: preparation matters. The sniper had chosen his hide site carefully, with multiple firing positions and escape routes. This preparation gave him options when things went wrong. Adaptability is survival. When his spotter was killed and his radio destroyed, he didn't panic. He adjusted his mission and found ways to survive. Psychological warfare works both ways. By constantly engaging ISIS fighters and seeming impossible to kill, he created a myth that terrorized them. Resource management. With limited ammunition, he made every shot count. 37 kills from 127 rounds is an 85% hit rate under extreme conditions. The will to survive. Despite wounds, thirst, hunger, and being surrounded, he never gave up. That mental toughness kept him alive when lesser men would have surrendered or died. The sniper was awarded the Silver Star for his actions. The citation described his extraordinary heroism and selfless dedication while isolated behind enemy lines. But he never spoke publicly about the mission. Special operations snipers rarely do. Years later, a journalist managed to interview him on condition of anonymity. When asked what he thought about during those 5 days, the sniper said, "Honestly, I thought about my daughter. She was 3 years old when I deployed. I'd promised her I'd come home, and I wasn't going to break that promise. Every time I wanted to give up, every time the fever got so bad I could barely think, I'd picture her face. That's what kept me going. Not duty or honor or patriotism, though those mattered too. But mostly, it was knowing I had someone waiting for me. Someone who needed their dad to come home." When asked if he would do it again, he laughed. "Hell no. That was the worst 5 days of my life. But if the mission required it, if lives depended on it, yeah, I'd do it again. Because that's the job. You don't get to choose when things go wrong. You only get to choose how you respond." The rooftop where he made his stand still exists. The building is damaged, but standing. Kurdish forces turned it into a memorial after they secured the area. There's a small plaque that reads, "Here, a single warrior held against hundreds. His courage gave us hope. His skill gave us victory." Local civilians who survived the battle tell stories about the sniper. They say he saved the hostages when ISIS tried to execute them. Say he protected the neighborhood when ISIS wanted to use it as a fortress. Say he gave them hope that liberation was possible. One elderly woman who lived in a building near the sniper's position said, "We heard the shooting every day. We knew someone was up there, fighting. It gave us courage. We thought, if one man can fight so hard, maybe we can endure one more day. Maybe freedom will come." And it did. These soldiers changed history. Share this story to honor them. The battle for Raqqa lasted 4 months. By the time it ended in October 2017, the city was devastated. Thousands of buildings destroyed. Unexploded ordnance littering the streets. But ISIS was defeated. Their capital had fallen. The caliphate was broken. And one small piece of that victory belonged to a single sniper who refused to die on a rooftop in the old city. His 5-day stand became legendary among special operations forces. It's studied at sniper schools, analyzed by military tacticians, and told as a story of survival against impossible odds. The sniper himself returned to duty after recovering from his wounds. He completed his deployment, went home to his family, and eventually transitioned out of active service. He lives a quiet life now, far from the war. His daughter is older now, and he never told her the full story of those 5 days. "Maybe when she's older," he said. "Maybe when she can understand. But for now, I'm just happy to be the dad who keeps his promises, the dad who came home." The ghost of Raqqa, 5 days on a rooftop, 1 sniper against 400 ISIS fighters, 37 confirmed kills, 0 friendly casualties, and a city that was freed partly because one man refused to surrender. In the history of urban warfare, there have been many tales of snipers who changed battles. Stalingrad, Sarajevo, Fallujah. But few match the sheer improbability of what happened on that Raqqa rooftop. 1 man, 5 days, surrounded, wounded, isolated, and yet he survived. Not just survived, he thrived. He turned a desperate defensive position into an offensive operation. He hunted the hunters. He became the thing ISIS feared most, a ghost they could not catch, could not kill, could not escape. The tactical lessons are valuable. The strategic impact is measurable. But the human story is what endures. The story of a man who had every reason to give up and chose to fight, who had every excuse to fail and chose to succeed, who had every justification to put himself first and chose to protect others. That's heroism, not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Not superhuman abilities, but human determination pushed to its absolute limit. Not seeking glory, but doing the job that needs to be done. The sniper was asked one final question during his interview. "What do you want people to know about those 5 days?" He thought for a long moment before answering. "I want people to know that I was scared. Every single day I was terrified. I want people to know that I'm not special. I just had good training and got lucky. But most of all, I want people to know that when you're pushed to the edge, when everything seems hopeless, you have more strength than you realize. You can survive things that seem impossible. You just have to decide not to quit. Everything else is details." The sun sets over Raqqa now in peace, not war. The city is rebuilding. ISIS is gone. And somewhere on a quiet street in America, a former sniper watches his daughter play in the backyard, grateful for every ordinary day, because he knows what so many don't, that freedom is purchased with blood, courage, and the willingness of warriors to stand alone against the darkness. That civilization endures because some people refuse to let evil win, no matter the cost. That rooftop in Raqqa, 5 days in October 2017. 1 sniper, 400 enemies, and a stand that proved the human spirit is the most powerful weapon ever created. Subscribe to Untold War Stories Official to discover more forgotten heroes.